The bill itself actually had quite a number of clauses to it, and many of those clauses were put into a category of corrections. There was 37 of the approximately 80 clauses that would fit into that category. 33 of them were considered to be minor amendments, and then there was 15 clauses of this Education Amendment Bill that were actually policy changes. And when I talk about minor or corrections, it would be clear to articulate that inside the Education Act there's still a lot of residue from previous bills, and if you turn to page 275 of the Education Act 1989, you'd see there mentioned under the heading of interpretation, New Zealand Apprenticeship Committee. And of course we know that under the Industry Training Act that the New Zealand Apprenticeship Committee had moved on, it had passed out of existence. So that was with reference to Section 27 of the Apprenticeship Act 1983. So that was an example in the Education Amendment Bill of a correction, and of course we can appreciate that that's quite appropriate. With regards to minor amendments, probably one of those would be page 6 here, clause 15, with regards to the registration and inspection of private schools. It talks about there that effectively that the Chief Review Officer would in fact ensure that a review was taken of all schools in accordance with Section 35 of the Act, in accordance, with Part 28 of the Act. So that was considered to be a minor or amendment. But when we come to the policy changes, we get into some of the far more sensitive areas, Mr. Chairman, and one of those that I'd like to turn to was around the police vetting, because I believe that the matching of registration information has been well traversed by the other side of the House, and they brought out many, many good points. But when it came down to police vetting, it is that fine balance of protecting the children and ensuring that there's a safe learning environment, and yet setting up a system where the school had better control and were able to manage things in a timely way. Up until this amendment, it was the Teachers' Council that actually run the whole process, and it is deemed and agreed by the committee that in actual fact we've got the balance right. But one particular point that came out there with regards to homeschooling was quite important, and I think it's be appropriate to draw the whole House's attention to it. Clause 139FB, when it talked about vetting household members who were either 17 years of age or over. It talks there about how the police vetting should be conducted. It's a very sensitive area because in one hand you're protecting the children, on the other hand you have got to protect the reputation of the individual, and the point that is made there quite clearly is the validation of the information that the police do get. And Mr. Chair, it is a very important point that has been given a reasonable opportunity to validate the information, but has failed to do so within a reasonable period. Then action can take place. So the bill in itself, whilst there's not a lot of major policy changes, it does correct a lot of aspects of the Education Act 1989, and altogether it will make the Education Act work better. It will be a bit more balanced, and it will certainly take our children forward. So we look forward to this bill to be in due course written into the Education Act 1989, and on that part, Mr. Chair, it's a pleasure to support that bill.